Hi, everybody. Welcome to another beautiful Friday, November 1st in the US and Europe, and Saturday, November 2nd in Australia. And we are back with the wonderful Bob Eden, the Spiritual Mechanic Show on Cosmic Guardians with hosts Bob and Ann. Today we'll not have Corinne with us, but she may occasionally join us, but not today. So we rescheduled from last week, and we're going to talk about how I beat chronic depression. This is a really good topic. And our last show on Cosmic Guardians was Cosmic Sistar show with host Corinne and October 30th in US and Europe, and October 31st, I can't talk today, in Australia. We talked about surrender and release. Surrender versus release. And the last show on Bob Eden, the Spiritual Mechanic Show, was actually because we canceled last week's show. It was Friday, October 18th in US and Europe, and Saturday, October 19th in Australia. We talked about the first 7 years, and that was a really short. This time we're going to do a real, proper, great show, right? Hi, Bob. How are you?
Glad to be alive. Glad all the technology is sort of kind of working. Yeah.
It's that time on the planet. And I think we are soon going to head into some kind of a Mercury retrograde again, and that's, communication. Um, I don't really have it in here. I'm going to check it out to see when that's going to come. So it's going to be interesting. So anyway, if you want to catch up any of our last shows, see the upcoming episodes, connect with us, find Bob, find me, read articles, you can find us at angelplaceonearth.com/cosmic guardians. And we always go live at facebook.com/cosmic guardians and youtube.com/@angelplaceonearth. So let's dive into today's topic.
Hey, I'm turning into a lizard. Look. Yeah, today's topic, how I beat chronic depression. And for me, it would have been easy. Well, it's not for me, but generally people post things like how to beat cancer or how to beat chronic depression. But because going back to my first principles that are all sovereign, unique and equal, I cannot speak for anybody else. All I can do is share how I beat chronic depression. And,
That is a brilliant way of coming from oneself, because even if we are sharing stuff and we're stating things, we can only share from our own experience. That's it.
Well, that's why all opinions are worthless. The only truth that I have, the only thing that I value, that is mine and mine alone, is my personal life experience, and so that's what I'm going to share. So to get into it, the last show we did on the first 7 years, I kind of talked about healing the wounds of my childhood, and it was all, the whole thing was chronological, going through the challenges I faced and the solutions I found and the insights I got. And what I want to do today is actually using hindsight, which is always 20/20 vision, to go back and, like, all the big things that I did, and all the aha moments that I had, what I want to do today is actually prioritize them. Like, if I could go back and go through that process again, which of the key insights would I put first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth? So here goes. My number one awakening moment, bearing in mind that my panic and depression started in November 84. But my number one aha moment, the most powerful one, was occurred in 2005 when I became a ship's captain, and I realised that the buck stops with me. Oh dear God! And then I just adopted that ideology and applied it to my life, and that's where that was the day that I became master and commander of this life that I do create, and take full responsibility for it. Now, if I'd have had that insight, early on, say in '84, it would have really made the journey much easier because um, from '84, following the Western medical model, taking all the antidepressants and stuff, um, and I was able to do some healing in that process, like uh, following John Bradshaw's work on healing the inner child. So I could do the sort of headspace stuff around the healing, like writing a letter to mum, but it was no good. It still didn't allow me to release all the trapped energy that was in my body from my traumatic childhood. So, whoa! Oh, that cleared the sinuses. Yeah, so if that was number one, and then the second one would be healing the wounds of childhood. Um, how can I put it? I'd encourage anybody and everybody to just go in and do the inner work, because the way I see society, um, nobody in Western society is unscathed, has gone through childhood and come out of childhood without carrying some wound. And
Exactly.
there is a system. The system we live in, for me, is set up to produce wounded children. And whether you get beaten or abused by your primary caregiver, the system imposes an abuse on all children, and that's the abuse of abandonment. And by that I mean nowadays parents hand over their children to the state. Well, when I was a kid, it was about 5 years old, but now it's 4.5 and 4, and even younger. And that is a huge abandonment, because traditionally and as part of our humanness, that when a child is born to the parents, there is this energetic spiritual connection,
Yeah.
and the child is always with the parents. If they go out in the fields working, the child goes along, and if mum and dad can't be there, then there's brothers and sisters and uncles and aunts. So the child never gets abandoned, that suffers that abandonment, that spiritual abandonment. And the only time that changes is when the youngling gets to teenage years, and then is taken through a rite of passage to become an emotional and spiritual adult. And so again, the connection to the parent source energy isn't broken, it's just added to. But now the person in the community is an adult can become like a community parent for other children. So,
Yeah.
but that doesn't happen in Western society anymore. And so,
No, it doesn't.
yeah, every child out there is that's grown up. Wounded child becomes a wounded adult. Oh dear.
And
So,
um, in my time, because I was born in '64, right in the '60s. But I was fortunate because I had all I had my great grandmother, my grandmother, both of my grandmothers. I had a lot of people around me, mature people, because my mom had to work, but I didn't have to go to daycare or anything, right?
Yeah, yeah. You're a lucky girl.
Yeah, I was. And I think what we talked about last week, because it's so important with the first 7 years or 8 or however it is, right? Maybe it's a little bit personal for each child, but it's the time when you are shaping, because we come in here very, very pure. We are open to everything, and then we are shaped. Yeah, yeah, right? Shaped and told how to behave, what to do, things of that nature, right?
Yeah, well, I look at it like from the spiritual mechanics viewpoint is when a child was born, when I was born, I arrived with my basic operating system, like a little computer, I had my basic operating system that just checked, make sure everything works, and I could talk and eat and and function. But how to behave, I, I, I had no idea, and so began the programming of me by the society I was living in, and I took on board more and more and more of these programs coming from society, and that was okay. And but over a period of time, I began to realise that uh, probably by my sort of 30s, that there was something wrong in within me. I just didn't feel real. I felt like Robert the robot. You know, an event would happen in my life, and it was similar to a previous event, and so instead of looking at this event as a brand new, unique thing, I just kicked in the old behaviours and reacted the same way to this new event as I did to the previous similar event. And it was that realization that I was, Robert the robot, that was really, really scary. But by taking ownership of my life, once I'd realised that that's what I was doing, I said, well, this this is a unique moment. How am I going to choose to respond to it?
Yeah.
And so eventually, the next really big thing was realizing that the medications that I was taking that were doing exactly what they were supposed to do, which was to keep me from my feelings. So I'd done all the sort of the headspace work and writing a letter to mum, but I couldn't get in touch with my feelings to do the healing that my body needed to release all those moments of terror from my childhood that were still trapped within me. And it wasn't until this is about 2006 that I threw the medications away, and I'm living on my boat, and which is good because I just went to hell and back 2 or 3 times a day for about a week, coming off the antidepressants, but also then allowing my body to really embrace all the feelings that was in it. Because another realization that I had was what scared the shit out of me in November 1984 was, my body's thrashing around. I had these all these feelings, and they were overwhelming. They were so powerful, and I was afraid of that. I was afraid of that. But now, well, since then, I've realised that the power of those feelings that I was having was simply a measure of how powerful I really am. And so by embracing those feelings, accepting those feelings, and honouring those feelings, I thought, wow, I feel as if I'm made of unobtainium. So that,
Yeah.
that, that was the big fear. And that allowed me, after I'd got through the sort of detox thing from the antidepressants, to go back, still on the boat, get in touch with it, every body memory of trauma that I could, and just sit in that feeling and release that feeling that was trapped in my body that I should have released when I was a young child, but was not allowed to, because children should be seen and not heard, you know. And so
Yeah.
I went through that process of just going back, going back, and just, I cried and cried and cried and screamed and shouted, but it was that it. And there's another fear in society. People are afraid of losing the plot, losing control. And I reckon it's one of the best things you can ever do. You know, if you can set up a safe space where you can, surrounded by people that are going to make sure you don't harm yourself, but just to go into your body and let it release what it wants to. You know, even if you're just going, you know, that for me is my body healing itself. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's
And
it's so
and
true. Little babies, little toddlers, you know, that's where I learned so much from that beautiful innocent being that I was. And when when I watched my son, when he got had to have a blood test, and he got his his foot, the base of his foot pricked for a blood sample. The little fella cried and cried and cried and cried as if the whole world was coming to an end, as if, you know, as if he was being murdered, if you like. But it was his body doing the healing process. So he cried and cried and cried, and all of a sudden stopped crying, and it's back to gang, 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 happy goo goo. You know, so we innately know how to heal those wounds and trauma from childhood. Yeah, yeah,
we do, and it's interesting because, you know, everything is energy, and we don't realize many times that in the emotions and things that we feel are negative, towards the negative, like being angry, being fearful, wanting to heal, wanting to cry. There's a whole bunch of energy in those emotions and feelings, right? So therefore, if we acknowledge them and we release them and we let them be as they are, we are going to heal. The problem, I think, is that because we feel uncomfortable, we have been told it's not appropriate. We shouldn't act like that. We shouldn't cry. We shouldn't be angry. We shouldn't this and that, right? So we try to avoid it. But instead of avoiding it, if we, as you say, we embrace those feelings, that is the path forward. And the best thing of it all is that those feelings are not going to last as long as we think when we are fearful, right?
yeah. There's a lovely phrase whenever I'm down in the trenches or facing the demons, and how, doesn't matter how terrifying or horrific it's got, whatever's going on, there's this little phrase, and it is, and this too shall pass. And it does.
Yeah, it does.
You know, yeah. It doesn't feel like it when you're in, you know, when I'm in the trenches there fighting off the dragons and the ghosts and the nasty beasties. But yeah, it's part of surviving. But it's also coming from that place of, yes, I create my life. So whatever event happens in my life, I have created it. And so why did I create this? You know, why did I create 20 years of chronic depression? And I needed to learn a lesson. And the lesson was that I was living my programming and didn't even know what my truth was. And so I embarked, and this is another key point, on questioning everything that I held as sacred. Everything my parents told me, everything that I got from the indoctrination system. Oh, sorry, education system, you
Yes.
know, and mainstream media, everything I held as sacred was like 180 degrees away from my truth. So by questioning everything, I embarked on a journey of discovering my own truth. And how do I know what is my truth? Whatever resonates with my heart. Right? And that's how, over a period of time, I built up my own truth and I made it my life purpose simply to find my own truth. And that for me was a major step on the pathway to authenticity. You know,
Yeah.
and the
And
other, yeah,
it
sorry,
takes it it's okay. It takes courage in this world to do it, but it's well worth it. And it's not as confusing as one can think, right? If you are going what feels in alignment with you, what resonates with you, with your heart, what you want to do, then there are no questions. It's going to be a little bit of work in the beginning until you find yourself, right?
mm,
But that's it.
yeah. And the other key element sitting behind all of this, like once I totally believed that I am master and commander of my life, and I cannot negate that because if you are not creating your life, who is? And if you're not creating your life, you're a victim by definition. Now I'm sovereign. I do create my life, and I take full responsibility for it.
Mm.
And I think that's a major step forward. But there is a one of the biggest states or causes of dis-ease in our society is codependent behavior, and this deprogramming myself from codependent behavior was absolutely fundamental. And how did I do it? Simple, simple. One, get hold of the idea of boundaries, set my own boundaries, and boundaries sound like walls, but it's not. It's like, how can I put it? My boundaries are the golden frame around the masterpiece that is me. My boundaries let me know where I finish and you begin. So establishing boundaries, and it doesn't have to be nasty. Um, but
Oh,
the simple phrase that guided me through this whole journey of deprogramming myself from codependent behavior was this little phrase, and it's in quotes: unsolicited advice is abuse.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
think that's really good.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
because advice and opinions can come from everybody, and it usually does, a lot of them, right? It doesn't
yeah,
mean that something that worked for someone is going to work for you. And usually it is opinions of something that people are giving advice about, because this is how people are supposed to manage something, right? But because it's individual, and because you now take responsibility for your life. You have the truth within you, right?
yeah, and as you go through your day and meet people and listen to what they say, um, it's that I don't know about you, but when I'm struggling the most in life, that is when I learn the most about me. But for some strange reason, when I am struggling, people come along like the rescuers, dun, 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 you know, and hey, I know what you need to do, mate. You need to blah blah blah. And I say, well, thanks a lot, mate. But as we're all unique in the whole of creation, there is nobody else like me. And ergo, I am the only one in the whole of creation that can ever know what my needs are.
Exactly.
Now, I'm here to live my life my way, not your way. But if you want to be a true friend, you know, be around when I put my hand up and ask for help. And so, and it's taken me years to get out of codependent behavior. But, you know, I'm not a nasty person. People find me blunt, but I'm not here to, you know, make you feel warm and fluffy. I'm just here to share my truth, what's happening for me. All I'm
You know
doing is
what?
sharing data.
Yeah. You know what? Then this is going to make you laugh. I've been called blunt too because I say it. I don't
Yeah,
sugarcoat things when I say things. I say them. But there's always a way of stating things. It doesn't mean that I'm going to be aggressive, right?
no.
Uh, no.
Like when people nowadays um, try and offer me advice and guidance, I just say something like, I thank you for your input. When I need your advice, I will give it to you. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think something else is important here. Um, when we are finding ourselves, our authentic selves, our answers, our truth, we need to learn to trust that because we have unlearned to trust that part of us, right? How did you do that?
Well, that was my next big point,
Okay.
which was, see, this synchronicity between us is amazing. Um, Re-establishing my belief in me, and thankfully through the work I did with John Bradshaw and repeated trips back to my childhood, um, I asked myself this question: what was my earliest recollection of me no longer believing in me, no longer trusting in me? And I was about 4 3/4 years old, and it was a Sunday morning, and I bounced out of bed and brushed my hair and combed my teeth and put on my red t-shirt and then bounced down to breakfast. And Mum said, "Boy, you go upstairs and put on your blue t-shirt because you know you love your blue t-shirt." So I stood up, confused. "Oh, I love my red t-shirt. That's why I put it on." But Mum must be right because she's Mum. She's very angry. She's very violent. She's about 80 foot tall. So I went upstairs and put on my blue t-shirt, and that's the first earliest recollection I've got of no longer believing in me
Yeah.
and gaining the belief that other people knew what was best for me. And that was so deeply ingrained. That's really the kind of way I lived until the gift of depression came along and went whack, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
But you know,
how I re-established my belief in me was about 2006, and I was on the boat, and I don't know if I've told you this story, but I'll tell it anyway because we got loads of time.
yes,
Um,
we have.
yeah, it was 7:30 at night. I'm in Pioneer Bay, which is surrounded by uh, mangrove trees where crocodiles live, and
Oh,
and sharks come out at night to feed. And I was sitting below, naked in my boat on my laptop, and I was on my dog's Facebook page. And all of a sudden, the lights went dim, and I couldn't breathe. This is weird, you know, what is going on? I could see from the voltmeter that we had 13 volts, so it wasn't an electrical issue. And just here, there was this black, silky, spidery wispiness that was, no matter, it was always just at the edge of my vision. And I thought, oh no, it's all over, Red Rover. The Grim Reaper has come to get me, you know. So I typed into Facebook, and I still can't breathe. Hey guys, if I don't post anything in the next 20 minutes, can you get Volunteer Marine Rescue to come out and get Barnaby? Because I thought that I was having a stroke or something. I was going to die, and my fear was that after he had eaten me, he would starve. So still couldn't breathe. And what to do. I could have typed in, hey guys, I think I'm having a stroke. Can you get the ambos out here, the ambulance people out there? But I didn't. I just sat there. And I don't know about you, but in these moments of near death, time is irrelevant. It was, it just seemed
Yeah.
like forever. So I'm sitting there, right, what am I going to do? So I just let my body take over. And I walked up the companionway, up onto the deck. I looked up at the sky, and I could see 2 full moons. And then my body just threw itself into the bay, like bugger the sharks and bugger the crocodiles. Splash, and I rolled over onto my back and spread out like a great big starfish, and then went. And I was breathing again. And that was the night I bet my life on trusting my intuition, trusting my inner tuition. And that was the night I reclaimed my belief in me.
Yeah.
That was my rite of passage. And if you haven't had a rite of passage, well, where are you in your, evolution? It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it's real. And I think it's very important to share stories like yours and the other stories that we have from life, because we are not told these things. We have to discover them for ourselves, because we are shaped in certain forms, right? That are accepted. So we need to step outside of that to hear ourselves. And some people, I never had a panic attack myself, but I went
Oh,
through.
they're great.
No, I had a wonderful childhood with my great grandmother. Actually, she was like my mom, and I had everything I needed, security I could do. When I went, being mischievous and stuff of that nature as a child, I did it with her. I didn't do it with my mom. I didn't have that trust. But I had a difficult teenage years, and from that until I was around, probably, I could say 5, 6 years, I was basically on my own, very, very young, from 16 to 21, trying to figure out life. I had both my parents, but they were too young to take responsibility, so to speak.
Yeah. And
So that is another way of it. For me, my turning point came because I had a relationship. I was very, very young. We were together for 2.5 years, and because we were so young, nothing is written in stone. We may have grown apart later on, but he died in an accident. He was in the military, and he froze to death because he decided to walk back to the military. They were at a hotel. So, like, something that in here, I couldn't really figure it out, because it's not like he wasn't sick, no accident like a car crash or something like that, totally out of the blue. And that changed my life, actually, for me, to start to seek. But start to seek also means that it can be a long journey, because we scratch on things until we find it, right? But it's beautiful when you do find it.
yeah, there was a. Uh, I do not regret my childhood, and I wouldn't change it for the world. I wouldn't change anything about it for the world, because every step I've ever taken, however painful, has brought me here to where I am now, to a
Exactly.
place of contentment and total acceptance of me.
Mm.
But I had this feeling, I didn't want to change it, but I had this feeling that I could go back and heal it. And that healing the wounds of childhood was just phenomenal. But it happened in 2 stages. Like it happened in the 90s when I was doing the John Bradshaw homecoming work. And then that was like the intellectual side. but the spiritual and physical and energetic healing it didn't really come about until I got rid of the antidepressants, which are put there to stop me from getting to my feelings.
Yeah.
So I needed both of those components to heal, and I still reckon I've got a couple of unhealed wounds back then, but I really can't target them. You know, I really can't pinpoint them at the moment. But the good thing about the subconscious is, like, it only releases what you can handle at the time. So it's like that, you know, peeling the layers of an onion. And I reckon I'm pretty much down to the core. But for me, life is all about challenges. Like, I had a challenge with chronic depression, and by going within and finding my truth, I found my way through. And like, I found all my solutions within my heart, you know. I didn't need drugs, I didn't need therapy, I didn't need NLP, I didn't need hypnosis, none of that stuff. Because I believe that at the core of every living, loving human being, there is just this knowing that what is right. Am I living right with creation? You know? Am I being the best version of me? I was put on this planet to be magnificent, you know, to have this experience. And if I'm less than...
You are.
we are. We all are. I reckon, look, I'm just a simple bloke. And if I can do it, anybody can do it. But just avoid all the distractions. Like, there's another distraction in the world that is intentional. Everybody really nowadays is so busy bringing home the bacon to pay for a house that they, you know, that becomes a millstone around their neck, or to buy a Ferrari, or, you know, everybody's so busy getting stuff, getting toys, getting, you know, that they use that as an excuse. Oh, I don't have time to go within and take that time. But that's why for me now I am actively pursuing creating more silence in my life.
And being now in the present moment, because this is what we have. The past is gone, but it's still affecting us sometimes, like we talked about, right? But it's gone. The future is going to be shaped from this point forward. And we can make choices. We are not victims of the future. Right?
Well, God, I don't like using the word God because it brings up this image of a bearded bloke up in the cloud who's going to damn you to hell, but he always needs money, you know. But we love you, you know. But for me, yeah, I've got this connection to Source. And it only came through by going within and finding that place. Within the silence of my heart, I found this place I call my knowing, and my knowing has no words, but it's there that I get this connection to Source. And many times a day, I'll just look up and wink and point up there. That's my connection to the universe, you know, my little guardian angel, if you like. And I do that lots of times during the day just to make sure that he is doing his job, which is to fulfill, and this is another big stepping stone, a milestone. So the universe's job is to fulfill my commands. And my command is my conscious life intention. And my conscious life intention is I am here to have a gentle, joyful, loving, healthy, and abundant life. And that I am here to have that bit. That's my command to the universe, to deliver whatever I put after it. But it's also my address to the universe, so it knows where to deliver what I've commanded. And since I put that command in place, my conscious life intention, that's precisely how my life is unfolding. You know, I'm just kicking back, eating the popcorn, watching the movie, and the universe is doing all the hard work. And it's that simple. Keep it simple, sovereign.
It is simple.
So I would
Yes.
encourage everybody to just take a quiet moment and say, right, yeah, I am master and commander of this life, and how do I want to experience this life? And then set your own conscious life intention. And then all I did was I just kept repeating it. I repeated it. I am here to have a gentle, joyful, loving, healthy, and abundant life. And it's like it became my MO. And yeah, I say that's why my life is so simple now, because the universe is doing all the hard work as it should do. And people say
Exactly.
it
And
sounds arrogant, but what's it? I love the Bible. It's a great collection of myths and mythology. But there's some gems in there. It's like, and the kingdom of heaven resides in everyone. So I am co-creator of the universe, and I am creator of my life experience. And my life experience is only limited by my own imagination. And I'm
yes,
I'm very creative, which is why I have such an awesome life. And even this battle with prostate cancer, uh, it was scary making that leap of faith from not going under the Western medical model knife and finding natural remedies. But I feel like Captain Kirk in Star Trek, to boldly go. I'm on a voyage of discovery, of finding more and more natural remedies and trying it. I use my body as a laboratory. So I'll try a natural remedy. Is this working for me or not? If it is, I'll keep it. If it's not, it's in the bin. And
yeah.
it's just a simple process. but
But that's you are stepping outside of what we have been all taught, right? Conventions and everything. So you walk your own path. And that is what we need to do. Listen to ourselves and having the courage, because we are not taught all those things. It takes courage. You are very courageous.
well, the funny thing is, no one outside of me can teach me what I need to know, because all my answers, all my solutions, I got from listening to my heart.
Yes.
And as everybody's unique, everybody will find their own solutions.
Mm.
I find it crazy that there's so many people out there desperately searching for answers. And what I say to them is, okay, you're searching for answers, but are you asking the right questions? You know, one of the biggest questions I asked myself uh, was, what is the longest relationship I've ever had in my life? And the answer is obvious. It is with me.
Yes.
Ergo, it follows that nobody knows me better than me. I am the only expert on my life. So why am I listening to all these psychopathic psychologists and psychiatrists telling me there's something wrong with me? You know?
Yeah, I know. Exactly. And another aspect of that is that because relationship with self is the most important relationship we have, comes down to self-love, trusting yourself, finding yourself, right? It's so important because a lot of people are looking for that outside. Therefore, they seek it through psychologists maybe, or through someone else, a partner. If I find the prince riding into my life on a white horse, that's going to solve everything for me, right? No, it's not going to solve everything. It
Uh,
doesn't happen that way. It comes from within, it comes from here.
yeah. And it's good that you mentioned that particular process, because I now realise that um, how I used to get into a relationship. I'd go to a club or an event or something, and I'd see a lady and our eyes would connect, and there's this flash of electricity and chemistry, and 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 that usually led to a relationship. And most of my relationships have all been, long term, years and years. But what I realised by doing the work is that chemistry, that's the last person I need to be in a relationship, because it's like in my emotional and spiritual development, which was traumatic, it left holes in my soul, and that lady has got holes in her soul, but where I'm complete matches the holes in her soul, and where she is complete matches the holes in my soul. So it was like, that's the last person I need to be in a relationship, because that is like the spiritual definition of codependency.
Yes,
I needed that other person to complete me, which is, an
yes,
absolute untruth. The only person that can complete me is me.
exactly.
Yeah,
And that
but I
comes
don't think
all
I don't have the chemistry.
yeah, but chemistry, um, I call romantic love, and I think Corinne did that too. So I learned it from her. I have to mention that. Uh, Romantic love, as we see it with our way of experiencing that, what we think is real love is romantic love, and that's chemistry, right? But unconditional love, finding a partner to walk beside you, that's something different, something totally different. And no one else can ever complete anyone else. And that is searching for your fulfillment on the outside is not going to happen ever. Sorry to break it, right? To everybody.
Yeah,
I know you know.
it's like going back to that secret, that sacred place within me, in my knowing.
Plus, there's something else great. Our relationship to ourselves is for a lifetime. Think about that one, right?
Many lifetimes.
Yes. So why not honoring? But I'm thinking just in this incarnation, okay, but we have many. But it's the most important one we have, right?
Yeah, and I still don't know. I'm not really sure about what is love, because there were no role models of a loving relationship in my formative years. And I still think that I don't love myself enough, because I'm still smoking. You
Yeah.
know. But for me, it's better than all the 20 years of poisoning myself with petrochemical antidepressants. But I think, like, personal development, personal growth is not a destination; it's a journey. And don't matter how many lifetimes I have, there's always going to be work to do. You know,
Yes.
you can't expect somebody to come along and just pick me up and elevate me to some place of ascension. So I've got to do the work if I want to go there.
Absolutely. And there's other aspects as well. When we fear and think about, I'm not talking about the two of us right now because I think we overcome that part on our journey. It doesn't hit us that hard. But when people are disappointed over things in their past, challenges, experiences that are negative, but we are as a species, now I'm talking the humanness, right? We are very convenient. So if we don't see two sides of the coin, so we see this is something that I'm, in my mind, maybe right now on the level I am, want to accomplish, but this is what I experience. So if we can, after it happens, we can embrace that experience, that's going to bring us forward because that is going to teach us the lessons, right?
Mm. Well, I've got this this little phrase popped up the other day, and it's called the unconscious captain. Now, trying to put it in a visual format, I just imagine anybody can do this. Just imagine you're the captain of your ship and you got your hand on the tiller and you're going along with the flow of life on the course that you have set.
Yeah.
So everything's good. So I can go to the port side of the river or the starboard side of the river. I can swerve around obstacles, you know, but I don't go back, you know. I don't push against the flow of life. So there I am. But for me, there came a time when I, you know, when I was an unconscious captain, that there was a waterfall or a barrier across the river that stopped my progress, you know, and it was really, really scary. And that was the onset of depression. That was the message from creation. That was the message from my body that, yeah, I had set this course, but it wasn't the right course. It wasn't the course that aligned with creation.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I had to move from unconscious captain to being a conscious captain.
Exactly. But because you were unconscious, the path and the course you had set for yourself brought you to the place when you awakened, right?
Mm.
Mm. That's also interesting.
So I see it. It's almost perverse that for me, the biggest calamities in my life and the biggest challenges have been going through them have been the most liberating. And all I did really was honor and express the feelings, however powerful. And for me, feeling a feeling has never killed anybody.
No.
Swallowing a feeling, that's when the that's when the end begins, if you like. For me, the feeling I swallowed today will one day come back and choke me.
Yeah, exactly. We are not here to stuff things up, but that's exactly what we do many times. So we need to release them and see them for what they are and find our truth in that. Someone else may have their own uh, truth about a certain situation, but that's fine too, right? Let them have it, even if it's two people interacting, right?
Mm. So the question
I
I'm
think, yeah, go ahead. No, please go ahead.
the question I'm asking myself at the moment is, I've just created this event which is my big computer won't start up.
Okay.
So I'm just wondering what the lesson or lessons are that I need to
Yeah,
learn from the event.
sometimes it's also energies that are working, energies moving around. For instance, technical stuff. So I usually take that as some kind of a Mercury retrograde or something. I think we are soon up for Mercury retrograde, to be honest. I'm going to see if I can find anything here and state it. Or maybe we are free until the middle of December. Not really sure. But that would be interesting, wouldn't it?
On Monday, I've got an appointment with my doctor who's been off sick for months to see the results of my blood tests, and I can tell you what they're going to be. All my blood tests are going to be spot on, brilliant. My
Yeah.
blood pressure is fantastic. It's about 123/84 this morning, whereas a year ago it was never less than 170 over something. You know, And the only scary result will will probably be the PSA test, the prostate specific antigen test, and that's going to freak him out. But for me, in my journey, what I'm doing is I'm simply treating my body because my body says, "Hey, there's a pain here. You need to do something about it." So all I'm doing is using my natural remedies to get to the root cause of this pain. And so my goal is to live out my days in a pain free existence.
And
You know,
that
and
is life quality, right?
yeah, yeah. So I'm not worried about what the Western medical model says because I'm not even thinking about prostate cancer at the moment. I'm just focused on what is my quality of life like, and it goes back to the Oakes principle: keep it simple, sovereign.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think society in general, now I'm speaking very general, it doesn't really matter where we are in the world. There are always conventions, cultures, traditions. This is how we're supposed to do. And we complicate things so much. Too complicated. It's so easy when we come back to the core in here.
yeah. Well, that was another one of my bullet points in my recovery, if you like, was after eradicating or deprogramming myself from codependent behavior. There's another element which is what I call socio-cultural conditioning. Like wherever you're born on the planet, you're born into a community in a country that is has inbred traits and behaviours. The English with their stiff upper lip. Yeah, and the Americans with their arrogance. Oh, we police the world. You know. So deprogramming myself from socio-cultural conditioning was
Yeah.
another task that I undertook. Because for me, when I look at the Earth, it's one Earth. There's no walls, there's no barriers, there's no boundaries, um, and I believe I'm a citizen of Earth. You know,
Yeah.
I love being Australian. I love being Australian. I love Australia, but it doesn't mean I put a wall around it and you can't come here. I think it's time. It's and I think it's happening. More and more people waking up to the realization that there's only one country on Earth, and that is Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And only one humanity. We are all alike. We
yeah,
we only have been raised in cultures and conventions and all of that stuff, right?
yeah, yeah. And for me, I just see it's a lovely transition that the Mayans predicted as we move further and further into the age of integrity. Society is moving away from competition and greed to cooperation and sharing, and it's happening. It's happening,
It is
but
happening.
it's something you cannot legislate. It doesn't. It doesn't come from a top down. It comes from us people, at grassroots level, suddenly realizing that the way we've been living for the last 200,000 years, in competition, hasn't worked. It's time to
No.
reevaluate how we operate
Yes.
and yeah, the glorious age of cooperation.
I think that is brilliant. Um, it has been a little bit upside down in the world for the last few years, 4 or 5 years, right? But at the same time, we should not fear that. It's a part of change. When things change, it's like when you are healing, many times things are coming up, right? If you're healing yourself, it's going to come up things from your past. It's coming up here. You feel it. You are reacting to it. You cry or you get angry or you feel something or you remember something where you're laughing. It's a happy memory. But the thing is that when we are making changes, we are stirring around. the energy, so they move. So that means that we are going to see a whole lot of things. So I don't see that as negative, that it is a little bit crazy in the world. I see that as something positive. It doesn't have to be, and it's not a punishment like people usually say. No, I don't believe at all in punishment, but it's a natural thing that we will see different things. And it is about the awakening, and that's good, right?
What I love about the evolution of consciousness, the evolution of consciousness is exponential. And I love the work that the Mayans did all those, you know, centuries ago with their calendars that plot the evolution of consciousness. So now, as I said, we are, since 21st of December 2012, we've been entering the age of integrity and leaving the age of power. Now, the age before the age of power was the age of law, when laws were created and we lived in a lawful society and life was pretty good. But then power overcame law, and that's what we're seeing and leaving behind,
Yeah.
because you know that power destroyed our connection to living God's law, creation's law, which is do no harm. You know?
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
that, if anybody wants to watch something transformational, um, Ian Lungold's presentation on the Mayan calendar is that it changed my life. It changed my life. He's passed on now, but his work, sharing what the Mayans knew about the evolution of consciousness, was
Can
absolutely
I can,
transformative.
can I just ask you, because I'm making a comment here. Recommended reading the Mayan calendar, right?
By Ian Lungold.
I didn't hear his name. Sorry, Edward.
Ian,
Ian.
yeah,
Ian
Lungold.
Longo. Okay.
I'll send you the link to the YouTube
Okay.
channel. Wow, wow, that time went
Yeah.
quick, didn't it?
Yeah. You know, when you have a good time, it always passes very, very quick.
Yeah, yeah. All right, well, thank you so much, and thank you so much for all the work you do behind the scenes. I feel like the lazy dog here because all I do is come along and speak, but you know, I don't
But
have your.
no, and we all are unique. We all have our unique abilities and gifts and everything. And you have a gift, and that's why you're here, right? So no matter if I do behind the scenes, I love doing things behind the scenes.
What, like that guy in the Wizard of Oz?
So I'm going to post that link a little bit later than when I get it from you. And
Yeah.
um, what are we going to talk about next week, Bob?
Oh, oh,
That's a good
oh.
question.
Well, I've been pondering on the idea of the opposite direction.
The opposite direction. Okay.
Yeah. And to put that into context, I just want to, I can share from my own personal life experience how, I was going down this path, but the truth was in the opposite direction. But also, let's talk about um, how society is that unconscious captain that is going in the wrong direction. And
Yeah.
for us to transform would be to look at the opposite direction. Yeah.
So
Does that make sense?
I just, yeah, it makes full sense. So we put the topic the opposite direction. That's going to be intriguing too. That's brilliant. I love that.
Well, thanks, darling.
And thank you. I'm just going to do my end of show announcements. I'm sorry, always talking a little bit. So thank you, everybody. for joining us today, watching Bob Eden, the Spiritual Mechanic Show with host Bob and Ann. And we have been talking about how, like Bob say, how I beat depression, right? Because it's important, and we can beat anything we set our soul to do, to be honest. And next upcoming show on Cosmic Guardians is on Wednesday, November 6th, US, Europe, and Thursday, November 7th in Australia. Cosmic Sisters show and host Anne and Kareen discussing what is the difference between integrity and opinion. And that is kind of intriguing too, right?
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good one. Maybe you want to join, but
Yeah,
that
well,
has
wake me.
to be very, yes.
Yeah,
If you want to, you're welcome. And with you, we're going to be on with Bob Eden, the Spiritual Mechanic Show with host Bob and Ann on Friday, November 8th in US and Europe, and Saturday, November 9th. We are soon going to eat up all November as well, right? Talking about the opposite direction. I think that's a brilliant topic. I really love it.
yeah. I don't know where these ideas come from. I'm just channeling, so it's yeah, it's great.
You are in sync, you are in the flow. That's why they come to you like this.
Yeah. Thanks,
Thank,
darling.
thank you so much. Bye, everybody.
Bye, folks.
Bye.